Welcome guys to the first fantasy football talk on this channel. If you have seen my channel introduction video, I was talking about doing some videos about fantasy football related stuff or general sports related stuff. I'm trying to do these kinds of videos about once a week, especially the fantasy football talk. I'll try to do this every week of the NFL season. And I just try to give you some news about fantasy football, like important player injuries or people coming back to the active roster. And I'm also going to talk about my team in a league that I have. I'm not going to do this week yet because I haven't finished the video about introducing the league or the team yet. So I'm going to start doing that in week 6. But I hope you enjoy this video. I'm going to start off with the big question this season. What the hell is the Arizona Cardinals offense doing? The first couple of weeks with Sam Bradford, nothing really did go well. Neither David Johnson nor Larry Fitzgerald or anybody did good on this team. And since last week, with Josh Rosen starting, it got a little bit better. I've got the numbers of last week here with David Johnson leading the team with 19.2 points in PPR scoring, which is all right. So that's a decent number for a running back of his caliber, especially. Probably he has gone at number 1 overall or really high in most leagues, especially in PPR. Number 2 in fantasy points last week on the team was Josh Rosen, with only coming in at 14.5 points. He had a 15 of 25, 180 yards and 1 touchdown game. It's yeah, not really that good. I mean, throwing only for 180 yards in one game is, I'd say, less than average. So I hope Josh Rosen can improve because it was his first start in the NFL. He's only a rookie, so maybe he improves over the next couple of weeks, which will also improve, hopefully, the numbers of his receivers, which are as follows. The first wide receiver of last week was Williams with 9.2 points. Most of that came off a touchdown, or his lone reception for a touchdown. It went for 22 yards, and he is really touchdown dependable. The second receiver on the list of last week is Kirk with 7.5 points with 4 receptions and for 28 yards. Number 3 receiver is Ricky Seals-Jones with 7.2 points. 2 receptions for 52 yards. Had one long one, but yeah, not really a starting tight end in fantasy right now on a weekly basis. And most surprisingly, only at the number 4 receiver last week for the whole team was Larry Fitzgerald with 5.8 points. 3 receptions for 28 yards, not what you usually saw from Larry Fitzgerald over the last couple of years. If you have him on your fantasy league like I do, you're probably a lot disappointed about what he has been doing over the course of the season so far. There was one game where he had a decent amount of points. I think it was week 1. But after that, he kind of fell off. And probably if you have him, you either got him from a guy who dropped him to waivers after a couple of bad weeks, or you spend either an absurd amount of money in an auction draft or a really high draft pick. I mean, the absurd amount of money considering the performance he had this year. And you're not going to be happy about it. So I'd probably say if you're in a 10-team league, if you haven't already dropped him, right now I wouldn't drop him actually. So right now, with the unknown of Josh Rosen as a starter, I would probably say keep him around for maybe 2 or 3 weeks. You have already been through 4 weeks of bad performances with him. If you're actually on a winning record or a tied record right now, so at or above 2-2. I'd keep him just to see for a couple of weeks how the offense is really developing. And with Josh Rosen, I have a good feeling about the offense, that there is an increase in performance there, because it honestly can't get any worse than that. The next topic I want to talk about is the Houston Texans backfield. And Lamar Miller was the clear number one running back coming into the season, but he didn't really show that much this year. And last week he left the game after 3 quarters with a chest injury, giving Alfred Blue a couple of runs. And yeah, both of them didn't perform. And actually, the Houston Texans will probably return to a run by committee like they did last year. So not really that much value in the Texans running backs in fantasy football right now. And yeah, again, if you're somebody like me and have Alfred Blue as one of your running backs, you can only hope that you have another good running back on your roster, or a second one that can help you out. Yeah, not sure what to make about this, and it has to be seen over the next 1 or 2 weeks what they are actually doing, if they actually return to a run by committee, or if the pressure on Lamar Miller actually brings out a performance boost in him. So, yeah, another lag with the Arizona Cardinals. Gotta wait and see. If you are in a position where you can wait and see, good for you. If you have a losing record, I'd drop probably Lamar Miller as well, especially in a 10 or 12 team league. If you're in a deeper league, keep him around, because you probably won't find any replacement running back on the waiver wire who gives you more points than Lamar Miller on a consistent basis. And just, yeah, hope that he gets better over the next couple of weeks. Okay, the next point on the list is the receiving corps of the Green Bay Packers. And right now it doesn't look good for either Randall Cobb, Davante Adams, or Geronimo Allison. They all missed practice on Wednesday and all missed the practice as well on Thursday, which for all of them doesn't look good that they won't play on Sunday. Jimmy Graham was able to return to practice on Thursday after missing practice on Wednesday, so he looks like he's good to go. No information has been out as of yet if he was a full participant at practice or if he was in any way limited. But the next one up at wide receiver for the Packers is Waldes Scantling. Haven't really seen much about him, and not really much to go off of if he is actually worth to pick him up in fantasy football. But with a Aaron Rodgers-led offense, you usually can't trust in a receiver if he doesn't have butterfingers. And yeah, if you're in need of a wide receiver this week, and Waldes Scantling might be a good pickup for you this week, because it looks like he's the number one wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers this week. So, of course, he's a boom or bust option, but if you're desperate and need somebody because of a lot of injuries to your wide receivers, or you just don't have wide receivers on your bench in deeper leagues, he's worth a look. The next point on here is for the Carolina Panthers. Greg Olsen was back in practice this week on Thursday with his pads and helmet on. This is 4 weeks after he broke his leg in week 1 this season. He might be not available in your league because a lot of people kept him after he was injured, because his original timetable was that he'd miss 4 or 5 weeks. He makes the tight end situation in fantasy this year a little bit better after a lot of tight ends have been hurt so far this season. So at least one top guy at tight end is back into the mix. And the next point on the list, of course, today is Thursday. So we're going to talk about the Thursday night football game between the Indianapolis Colts and the New England Patriots. For the Indianapolis Colts, they have a huge injury problem this week. And this being about fantasy football, we'll concentrate on the injuries on offense. This week, they're gonna miss T.Y. Hilton, Marlon Mack, and Jack Doyle, all their starters for the wide receiver, running back, and tight end position. Of course, at the tight end position, they filled the spot with Eric Ebron, who actually, some say he might actually be the #1 this season. But with the running back Marlon Mack missing a game, he was their, I'd say, clear running back #1. But Nyheim Hines actually looked good as a rookie for a running back who was drafted not in the first round. So he might actually be a good replacement for Marlon Mack. He looked good in pass catching situations. I expect him not to rush the ball that much today. You haven't seen much of Hines as a rusher until yet. Maybe we see a little bit more about him today. Maybe he can surprise me. And yeah, biggest loss is probably the loss of T.Y. Hilton. Without a really experienced #2 wide receiver right now, they must rely on Chester Rogers, a rookie wide receiver right now. And yeah, the good thing for Indianapolis is they have a good or really good quarterback in Andrew Luck, who can actually make a lot up for a not so good wide receiver play. So it has to be seen how the Indianapolis offense does tonight against a, I'd say, yeah, bad New England defense so far this season. On the other side of things for the New England Patriots, they are getting back Julian Edelman after a 4-game suspension for PEDs. So actually, Tom Brady gets an actual target at wide receiver now. Of course, the addition of Josh Gordon a couple of weeks ago already brought him a weapon, but he only played 1 week and he still has to make a good connection with Tom Brady. For New England as well, there was some questions about if Gronk can play this week, and it looks like Gronk can be active today. And actually, Gronk and Edelman on the field, it will be the first time since November 27th in 2016 that these two players are standing on the field together again. So, my prediction for this game, as I said, the Indianapolis Colts offense, after losing 3 of their key players, they are in a little bit of a pickle right now. So I'd say New England is the clear favorite in this game. They have a good offense, and the Colts have a lot of injuries on defense as well. So I'd say probably a 41-15 game, or somewhere in that area. Or not 15-13, I mean. So yeah, it might be competitive for a while, but I think with the offense that the New England Patriots have and them playing at home, I don't think it's gonna be close at the end. And coming off the prediction for the Thursday night football game, I want to continue with a prediction for every week 5 game there is on the schedule this week. And if you can see here on the left is a whole schedule for week 5. Of course, I've already given you my prediction for the Colts-Patriots game on Thursday night. Next game up are the Titans at the Bills. The Bills looked awful so far this season, other than the game against the Vikings, but that wasn't the Bills' fault. That was totally the Vikings' fault. So I'm seeing the Titans miles ahead of the Bills, even if the Bills are playing at home. Currently, at the bookkeepers, the Titans are favored by 3 points. I think the Titans will easily beat the spread this week, and they probably win with a 24-10 game. So next up are the Falcons at the Steelers, and right now the Steelers are favored to win this game at home, but I don't see them winning the game because the Falcons, they might look bad on defense, but Falcons are the better team on offense than the Steelers are. So I think the offense will make a lot for them in the game. I think it will be more of the same as it was against the Cincinnati Bengals last week, but this week it will have the better end for the Falcons, with them just winning the game by a couple of points. Next game is the Broncos at the Jets. It will be another close one, but I think the Broncos are a decent team this year, with them beating the Jets at home by maybe a touchdown. Next up are the Jaguars at the Chiefs, which is, in my opinion, the game of the week. And to be honest, the Chiefs are really hot right now, especially on offense with Patrick Mahomes. But it will be a tough challenge against the Jaguars defense this week. But still, I don't see the Jaguars putting up that much points against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I have the Chiefs beating them by probably a score or two. Then next up are the Packers against the Lions. As I have already stated earlier, the Packers have a problem at receiver this week. So I see the Lions actually beating the Packers this week, just because the Packers are lacking offensive weapons this week. So it will be a close game, I think, because the Lions don't look good this season, but I think the Lions will beat them by maybe a field goal. Next up is another divisional matchup between the Baltimore Ravens against the Cleveland Browns. And the Cleveland Browns actually are decent so far this year. So, some people actually have them close to the Ravens, or actually having them beat the Ravens this week. But, the Ravens are kind of the, in my opinion, the most overlooked team this year in the NFL, because they are actually really good on both sides of the football. So I see the Ravens beating the Cleveland Browns by a touchdown, if not more, but I'm giving this matchup to Baltimore. Next up are the New York Giants against the Carolina Panthers. And it's gonna be the second consecutive week that the Giants are playing an NFC South team after playing the New Orleans Saints last week. And we all know how that ended up. And the Giants didn't look good in that game. So I think the Carolina Panthers are actually winning this game. And I think it's not going to be by that big of a margin as it was last week. I think it will be more of a one touchdown game for the Panthers. And it's probably going to be a bad week for the Giants again. Next up, the Dolphins against the Bengals. Yeah, the Dolphins looked awful last week. So I'm not really that confident in them, especially against the Bengals, who looked really good the last couple of weeks. And the Bengals actually might get Joe Mixon back, so they actually might have a decent running game again, which means I think the Bengals are probably winning this game by 10 or more points. Next up, the Oakland Raiders against the LA Chargers. The Oakland Raiders just coming off such a lucky win against the Cleveland Browns. I think the Browns should have won that game, but now they're playing against LA. I think it's a close one, but I'd give the edge to the LA Chargers. I think they're gonna win it by either a field goal or a touchdown, somewhere in between there, probably 4 or 5 points in between them, but at the end LA will win the game. Next up are the Arizona Cardinals against the San Francisco 49ers. And the 49ers didn't look half bad last week without Jimmy Garoppolo. And I'm a little bit confident in them being a decent team for the rest of the season without him. But in this matchup, I think the Cardinals might come back this season. And Josh Rosen actually does a little bit better than he did last week with his second start in the NFL. So I'd give it to the Cardinals by a small margin again, with maybe a field goal or touchdown. And next are the Minnesota Vikings against the Philadelphia Eagles. Both of the teams were favorites for the NFC title this year, but neither of them could really match up to the high expectations so far. In this game, I have the Minnesota Vikings a little bit ahead of the Philadelphia Eagles, just because I think the Minnesota Vikings offense is better than the Eagles defense and offense. So it's gonna be for me for the offensive power of the Vikings. but it's gonna be a close one. I think there are gonna be a lot of close ones this week. It's just a couple of really good matchups right now. It doesn't really matter, I think, what game you're watching, you're gonna see an exciting game. Next up are the Rams against the Seahawks. Yeah, I think you don't really have to say much about this game. The Rams are just fantastic right now, so they for sure are gonna win this game. The Seahawks just lost Earl Thomas last week, so another huge loss on defense. I give them no chance against the Rams. I think the Rams are winning by at least 2 touchdowns again. They are the clear favorite for the NFC right now. Next up, the duel for Texas, the Cowboys against the Houston Texans. Yeah, both teams are struggling right now, and yeah, it's again gonna be a close one. But right now, I'm actually giving it to the Texans just because they are decent on defense and might have a better offense than the Cowboys do right now, especially with how Dak Prescott is performing for the Cowboys right now. So I'm giving it to the Texans by a touchdown. And yeah, so that's rounding out the Sunday games. Coming to Monday Night Football with the Redskins at the Saints. It's gonna be not that much of a close. With the Saints getting Mark Ingram back, I think their game plan is gonna change a ton. Because they're gonna be more of the team they were last year. First 4 weeks this season, the Saints were really pass heavy. They didn't really rush that much with Alvin Kamara. They tried it a little bit more with Mike Gillislee in New York, and it turned out to go really well. And Mike Gillislee is not that good of a running back compared to Mark Ingram. So they are actually getting a good running back, if not a really good running back to actually improve the run game and just let Alvin Kamara concentrate on the pass catching duty. So I'm seeing the Saints going back more to the style they were playing last year, and the defense might actually improve even more. They played a pretty good game last week against the Giants, which admittedly don't have that good of an offense. But the Redskins, I don't see that good of an offense either. So I'm having the Saints winning this by 10 or more points. And that rounds out my Week 5 prediction, as well as this whole episode of the Fantasy Football Talk. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope I could give you some information about what is going on in the NFL right now. I hope my predictions aren't too far off of what is actually happening this week. And make sure to hit the like button, hit subscribe, hit the bell, and also check out my other videos. I'm gonna see you in the next video, and bye till then.